Okay, JS videos suggest I look at this channel called Nordic Perspective. So this young lady, this is her channel. Should women have mandatory military service? This video shouldn't exist. This is a rhetorical question because of course they should. The men should, since the men do, the women should, right? Now, I haven't watched any of this yet, so this is going to be a first time. Let's see what this woman has to say. Notice these female soldiers can grow their hair long. Right off the bat, there's a caste system, and it's not about lieutenants and sergeants. It's about male and female.
Hello, today I want to talk about if I think that military service should be mandatory for women. I want to start off by saying I'm from Finland. In Finland, we have mandatory service for men, and I volunteered as a female. I served for around 100 days before I was sent home because of a leg
I disagree with that, by the way. I don't think military service should be mandatory at all.
fracture, and then I came to Ukraine, and I'm currently serving as a volunteer in the Ukrainian army during war. So I want to start off
You are? Then what? How do you find time to do a YouTube channel?
by mentioning that in Finland there is a pretty good reason we have mandatory service, and I do think we should have mandatory service for men due to sharing a border with Russia that is currently attacking a neutral country in Europe.
You guys would be crushed by Russia. So I don't see any point in having a mandatory military service. Maybe you should focus on like politicians kissing Russia's ass, kissing Putin's ass so he doesn't decide to crush you someday. If Russia wanted to harm you, they're right next door. They could have done it years ago. So your bullshit claim here is denied.
So the question is, do I think women in that case also should have mandatory service?
There's no thinking about this. You believe in equality, don't you? Then whatever the men go through, the women have to.
Now, I know the harsh truth is that we need an army. I don't think, honestly, anyone wish to have an army. I don't think any country would hope that they need to learn to defend themselves. Finland has a really good reason to have an army, and it simply exists for defense. And men that have turned 18, they have to serve, or then they have to do civilian service, go to jail, or then they have to have a really good reason not to serve. For example,
Well, back that up. They have to go to jail if they don't? Back that up.
do civilian service, go to jail, or then they have to have a really good reason not to serve. For example, mental health issues or physical issues or something like that.
Or they don't want to die. How about that one? They don't want to die.
So once again, I have volunteered as a female in 2 different armies right now. And
That's right. You volunteer. You can get out anytime you wish. You privileged person.
I'm trying to not only talk about what I myself think is correct to do, because, well, it's pretty obvious what I think is what to do. But I do recognize that everyone cannot do the same thing. Just because I, as a woman, I'm very motivated to serve in the army, it doesn't mean I think everyone should do it.
Really? Well, you just did. You said every man has to. You think every man is motivated to join the military? So double standard right off the bat. We're only 2 minutes in. Okay.
So yeah, there's quite a lot of debate about this. Of course, if you're from America or from any other country, my opinion might vary on what country. I know, for example, the army in Germany is very different from how it's in Finland or in Ukraine. I know in America it's very different. In Finland we simply have an army.
Either men and women are equals, or they aren't. It's that simple, no matter what country you come from. It's obvious we aren't. We're in a caste system. You're above us. Men have to sacrifice. You don't.
Army to defend ourselves, and that is the perspective I'm going to talk from. So if you're from America, then maybe this video is not for you, besides if you're interested in how it works over here in the Nordic countries.
Then why are you putting this on YouTube then? If our opinions aren't allowed. Now, I'm Canadian, I'm not American, but nevertheless, don't put it on a universal platform. You should be on a platform that is strictly for Finnish people.
Or even in Eastern Europe. So once again, I know we need an army, and I will definitely say that I can have a bit of a harsh opinion on this matter. So please feel free to start a discussion in the comments about this.
Unless we're not Finnish.
I am making these videos to change my mind, not necessarily to change my mind, but I'm open to hear other people's opinions as long as they're put nicely.
Why do I care about changing your mind? You're either forced to be equal to men or you aren't in your country. And you aren't.
So, in Ukraine right now, the men over 25, they have to serve. During war, they can be forced to fight. That sadly is needed because if no one is fighting, then Ukraine is not existing anymore.
But you're Finnish. And by the way, Ukraine is being crushed right now. They can't win this war. So any young man being shoved in there is going to die. They're not going to win. It's a foregone conclusion. That's why, young lady, unlike you, the Ukrainian men they know they have to try and run. That's why a lot of them are running away. They're trying to escape the country. How come you see these young men getting shanghaied, rounded up, be thrown out to die? They're not going to win. They're going to die. They've been sentenced to die because they are male. And you get to simply volunteer. And you can renege at any time. You can say, we're going to die. I guess I've decided I'm no longer a needed volunteer.
Women have the option to either stay or then they can choose to leave. And looking at Ukraine.
There you go. There you go. So you have options and we don't. So this is a two-tier system. This is a caste system where women are above men. And then you gals will talk about historical oppression.
Currently, now I'm a little bit worried about talking about this because I don't want to be saying too terrible things. This is a bit of a touchy subject. I know that a lot of women that have escaped, it has not been an easy decision for them, having to leave everything behind for safety.
What do you mean it has an easy decision? Of course it was an easy decision. We don't even get that decision. What's your name again? Nordic perspective. Well, from a male perspective, men don't get that chance. And considering it's either perhaps be not even get drafted into war, Perhaps be collateral damage. That's the worst that women in Ukraine have to worry about. Maybe there'll be collateral damage. They're already far, far safer than any man in that country. And still, they're allowed to flee. And it's not a hard decision. Be in a war-torn country or leave to someplace safe. That's not a hard decision whatsoever.
But from my personal experience here in Ukraine, half of Ukraine is still pretty safe to live in. Like if you live in
Well, there you go. If you're female, because you're not going to be sent to the front lines. That's right. Because you can see Ukrainian men dragged out of nightclubs by army recruiters. They're being shanghaied. And all the women in that nightclub, they're all right. Hey, they can point a gun and get bullets shot at their face, right? Hey, have you ever been shot at? Are you on the front lines? Nordic perspective. Have you actually seen combat which endangers you specifically?
Eastern Ukraine, some places are super dangerous. For example, yesterday in Sumy, I think 30, 20-ish people died, including children, just civilians going to church on, I think it's Palm Sunday, I believe it's called. It is very dangerous in these places, but in Western Ukraine, things are not okay and things are not normal. There's daily funerals and everything, but considering like bombing wise and stuff like that, it is not that dangerous. It's more likely you might be in a car accident. And the reason why is that the war is being fought in the east right now. Russia can't put all of the resources throughout the entire Ukraine. Ukraine is a huge country. Maybe that's something people don't understand.
Yeah, it is a huge country. So I guess all you girls have to do is move to the West and you're okay. But men are being dragged out of nightclubs.
But the only reason most of the war right now is in the east is because there's people fighting in the east and keeping it in the east. If that support in the east or that
Okay, how come you're not there? You're a soldier, right? What are you doing on YouTube?
fighting stops, it's gonna slowly but surely move to Western Ukraine, and then nowhere is safe in Ukraine anymore. So I do recognize that there's a lot of uncertainty in Ukraine. But if you live in middle-ish parts or western parts, then for now things are pretty
Can I ask you something? How come you're not dead?
okay. And I think that it is interesting that so many women choose to move away. And of course, there's some men that also choose to.
Interesting. My favorite word now. Interesting that so many women run away like cowards. Interesting. I find it stomach churning, these double standards, where your men are slaves and your women are nobility.
Escape so they don't have to fight. But I have noticed there's quite a lot of men right now doing women jobs. But there's also a lot of women that have stayed and are doing jobs.
Yeah.
But let's talk about Finland for a little bit. So I already know if there is a war in my home country, I could never live with myself leaving my country behind and leaving it in the hands of men. Now I am willing to fight.
What, even in the hands of men? You almost sounded like an insult. Like these men can't do it. Well, lady, the point is, it doesn't matter what you personally will do. You're not forced. You can chicken out at any time. And even if you step up to the plate, none of your fellow females are forced to do anything. So that's neither here nor there.
But even if I wasn't going to fight, I would stay and help the country in some other ways, keeping the economy up. This is something people don't understand. I think during war, the country doesn't just stop. Like everyone can't just fight. There needs to be people.
Yet they're dragging young men out of nightclubs. Don't those young men have jobs? Aren't they upkeeping the economy?
People that keep up stores or maybe even cinemas, and because people need to make money to eat, to pay their bills.
Yeah.
So you might say, wait, why do you have a cinema open during war? This has always been a thing during war. If you guys actually read history, even during war in Finland, when the bombs was falling quite a lot, then there was still entertainment open.
Well, someone has to entertain the ladies while their men are out dying.
That is, there's nothing wrong with that. People are trying to live normal lives. The only difference is that people are dying, people are losing their loved ones, their jobs, and everything. But
People are losing their loved ones. Women are losing their men. I can say that because this is 100% a gendered issue.
personally, shortly put, I think everyone should do something to help the country. That doesn't mean I think everyone should go and fight. But for example, if you are a woman with family, you have children you have to take care of, then
What? Who cares? Let the man stay behind. Let your husband stay and look after the kids and family. You can go off and die. That's what he's doing.
and that is an important job.
I always love it how these upperclassmen hide behind children. I'm going to call you out there, Nordic. Grown-ass women hide behind children all the time.
For you to do. Someone has to take care of the children. If the children cannot take care of themselves, obviously, if they're still children. So if there is a war, I think everyone should do their part. But should there be mandatory service for women in the army? Now,
Finally, we're getting into it halfway through the video.
if I could decide right now, that I am very happy to hear your guys' opinions in the comments. I think women, if you don't have children, then you should learn some useful skill. There's many different jobs in the army. Some of them are not very physical. Now,
Oh, so I see. So you're going a long way around of saying no, women shouldn't have mandatory service. You shouldn't be put in harm's way, and you should use family to protect yourselves. Right.
there is, of course, a big physical difference on men and women biologically.
Bullshit. Then you look like a wimp physically. Yet you're a warrior, right? They allowed you into the army. Why did Finland let you into the army or the military, whatever you want to call it, if you're such a weakling? Also, there are boy soldiers. Here, let's see if I can find some. Yeah, there are child soldiers, and those children are always male. Hey, Nordic, do you think you're physically stronger than these little guys? I bet you are. And if little boys can point a gun and get bullets shot into their eyeballs, you can do the same.
Speaking, men are physically stronger in general than most women. And yeah, this doesn't make in any way men any better than women, as women being able to birth children doesn't make women better necessarily than men. Well, it's stupid to debate about, in my opinion.
You say that, but you're lying because you're not for mandatorily drafting women.
We are useful in different ways, considering that men are physically stronger. It makes sense they are the ones that are fighting during war. Women can feed children, birth children, and then if women have children,
Men can feed children, no problem. And you can drive a tank. Hey, you're in the military, and you look like a waif. So any woman can go pretty well. The average woman can go, and even if she's out of shape, they get her in shape. That's what training's all about.
children, especially that was more common in the past, it makes sense that women stayed and took care of the children. But during Finland, when
Well, it only makes sense if women are above men. It's like saying it makes sense that the nobility stay in the castle while the peasants work the fields.
there was war in Finland, a lot of, including my grandparents, was actually sent away to another country. I believe my grandparents went to Sweden, and then their parents stayed behind during war, maybe did some factory jobs. And this is, I think, how I would have things. So if there's a war, then really small children, they of course need at least their mother to be taken care of. But in general, I think during
No, no, no. Their father can take care of them. Mama can go to war.
war, women should help out in some way. So there was this thing called, I think it's called Lottakoulutus. Like there was this, you can see these pictures, these women that have these like nurse, I guess, outfits, and then during war.
Okay, I'll skip ahead because this was an overly long video to say, no, women are better than men. Men are beneath women and should go and die while we stay into safety. See how quickly I said that? Nordic perspective. Without all this dancing and prancing and hiding behind children. This is probably the only part I really needed to hear from the video, right here.
Men to go and fight. Here in Ukraine, I have noticed there is, for example, a lot of men waitresses, young men working as waitresses. And I think that it would be better if women did those jobs and these young men could go and fight for their country.
There you go, right? You answered your own question in that simple paragraph. Men who are safe and have jobs and serve the public, that all should be stripped away from them. They should go off and die, and that women take up their jobs and live. That's all I needed to hear. Of course, women don't want to admit their exceptional privilege over men. So that's why you have 15 minutes of dancing and prancing from these people.
Different, and we have to learn from the past and look at the current situation. Anyways, I would love to know what you guys think.
Well, I just told you what I thought, and you don't love it. Now, why are you still alive? You've gone off to war. Men are dropping like flies. How come you're still alive? How come you haven't paid with your life yet? What are you doing in that chair? Anyway, do I have to end and actually say you disgust me? Because you disgust me. You're everything wrong with gender dynamics. This is pathetic.